Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much again for joining us tonight. I definitely see a lot of familiar faces, so thanks for coming back. Just a few things. My name is Danielle. I'm with the Highlands Ranch Community Association, and we are excited to welcome Chris Motley back. He was with us last week, for those of you that were with us. If not, you are in for a treat. Just a few things before we get started. Just a thank you to Davidson's. For those of you that are local down here, you know how great Davidson's is and how much we appreciate them at the HRCA and all of their support. So keep supporting them as they keep supporting all of the things that we do. And just a few other things before we get going. If you do feel comfortable to turn on your cameras, please do. It's a lot easier to talk to people's faces than to a black screen. So if you feel comfortable doing that, we would totally appreciate it. If not, don't worry about it. And if you have questions, just try to keep yourselves on mute just so we don't have all the background noise and everyone can hear Chris. But we would love to hear your questions, hear your comments about tonight. Just put it in the chat and we'll make sure that we see all of those and Chris can talk back that way. So without further ado, we will welcome Chris Motley back from Las Vegas.
There. I'm not muted, Emma. No. Okay, gotcha. I was just waiting for it to go like that. But hey, everybody, how are you? Yep. Once again, here from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, and the Paradise Palms location, where my wife and I live in this spectacular mid-mod ranch style home here. It's dark outside, which is a little bit of a bummer. I always hate this time of year when we fall back. But when they asked me about doing, excuse me, some fall cocktails, you know how I like to keep things thematic. And of course, we're going to have one tonight, the autumnal old fashioned, which some of you may have remembered me talking about in the aisles as the Canadian old fashioned. We're going to modify that a little. But because I knew that we were going to have this falling back, you know, darkness nonsense, I decided to do a Black Manhattan to kind of commemorate the darkening of the seasons. So Manhattan, obviously, you know, one of the world classic cocktails. You know, depending on which store you get, whether it was a little dive in New York that came up with this cocktail, or it was originally created in Paris as an homage to the great city of Manhattan. And that's, you know, why you're supposed to use French vermouth in that cocktail, whichever one you want to believe. There's lots of myths and legends in cocktail world. But what we're going to do tonight is a different take on that. So you've got all your ingredients for that, and I hope. And the Amaro component, this Antica Amaro is fabulous. But I understand from Lisa Gallert, who was kind enough once again to supply our ingredients for this evening with Synergy Wine and Spirits. They have this fabulous Antica Amaro, but I understand it's not in stock yet at Davidson's. As soon as it does come in, you want to grab one of these because they are fabulous. Now, when I was making this cocktail to kind of do a test run, the version with this one is not a Black Manhattan. So it's kind of a, I don't know, a copper tone Manhattan, if you will. But the original recipe for the Black Manhattan calls actually for Averna Amaro, which may very well be the Amaro that most of you have in your house. That is a very dark, inky colored Amaro, so hence the blackness of the drink, right, through that darkness of the Amaro. So whichever Amaro you're using, though, that'll give you some kind of idea what this drink is supposed to be. It kicks the herbal notes kind of into overdrive, whereas depending on what sweet vermouth you're using, it can be a little bit cloying on that drink. I'm not the world's biggest Manhattan drinker, but I do enjoy a Black Manhattan because of the extra herbal kick to it and a little bit more depth in those kind of weird flavors. You know, both myself and Dave King, as you well know, kind of appreciated the weirder side of stuff. And we're glad to share our love of that with all of you. And I know I miss seeing all of you in the aisles there and talking over the weird stuff as well as the good stuff. And I know Mr. King does too. We still talk occasionally, and he's holed up in the mountains somewhere drinking whiskey, I guess, and playing pinball. But anyway, we're going to move on a little bit here, and we're going to talk about the whiskey component tonight in both of these cocktails. So the Manhattan can be rye. That would have been its pre-Prohibition style. And then after Prohibition, it turned into a bourbon drink. These days, put what you want in it. You know, there's smoky Scotch Manhattans out there that are really good. Rye Manhattans are great. But as Lisa has in her portfolio, Pinhook bourbons and ryes out of Kentucky, we decided to go with that. So this is a cool release from Pinhook. This is their Bohemian bourbon, and it's, I believe, their first complete 100% theirs. When I say theirs, Pinhook is not a distillery unto itself. Castle and Keep is the distillery making this. Now, prior to this, they were sourcing some from MGP in Indiana, and then other sources in Kentucky, but this is 100% Castle and Keep. Now, if some of you are whiskey nerds, you know about this distillery. You know that it was resurrected from the ashes of a distillery that had been closed, you know, for a very long time. And Mary Ann Eves, who was their master distiller, who kind of kicked that project off and got it started with them, she's since left, but made quite the name for herself in the bourbon world as kind of a visionary, you know, had some revolutionary ideas that, you know, you could make a really good, solid, delicious bourbon that didn't have to be 10 years old, you know, and case in point, this guy's like just over 3, I believe. So this Pinhook is the 2020 crop. So this is like the brand new guy. This is the Bohemian, this is Castle and Keep. As I said, Marianne has since moved on. Apparently she travels the country now with her husband, who runs a carnival, or a circus, I think it is. Actually, COVID probably has them in one place right now. But any city they go to, she gets in touch with the distilleries in that city and goes and does consultations with them. So that's kind of interesting. She's getting to have fun and go around. But for what we're talking about tonight, this bourbon was distilled by Marianne a few years ago at Castle and Keep. Has seen its time in the barrel, has been bottled. I've been enjoying it. As you can tell, this was, you know, unopened when it got to me here, and there's a few ounces missing out of there. It makes a hell of an old fashioned, which we're going to get to in here in a minute. But by itself, it's a lovely bourbon for its age. You would think it would be a lot more brash, a lot more young, but whatever they're doing there, whatever magic they're working, there's a lot of caramel note, even some creme brulee kind of note on it, a lot of that oak to it. Lovely. So without further ado, let's get to tonight's first cocktail. So we kind of have a starter and a finisher. The starter is going to be our Black Manhattan. The reason is because the extra herbal content in that would have been like, you know, your aperitif, so to speak, to stimulate the desire for dinner, which you're going to have to do dinner on your own. I'm not doing that for you tonight. But so we're going to start. We are going to take our shaker. We're not shaking tonight, but we do need that. And we're going to get some ice. I had some ice out of the freezer here. I didn't want it to melt while it was sitting on the counter. So we're going to put our ice in our shaker, just like that. This is the simple part. Actually, these drinks tonight are much simpler than last week. So we're going to go and do this. We're going to go start with our Amaro. And the reason being is the Amaro is going to be sticky and sweet. And, you know, so that we get all of it out of the jigger here, you do the sweet gooey stuff first, and then you spear it on top of that. So you're kind of washing your jigger as you go along, but it's just making sure you get all the ingredients out. So we're going to do 1 ounce of the Amaro. Oh, this stuff is so good. So here we go. 1 ounce goes in. Smell it already. And then we're going to do 2 ounces of our whiskey. In this case, the Pinhook bourbon, which also, along with that caramel and oakiness, there's a really nice rye spice to it as well. I was totally impressed by this bottling. Then we'll talk a little bit more about Pinhook itself here in a little bit. So our 2 ounces go in there. Then the bitter component here, we want a couple of different flavors in there. You know, we're going to do an orange slice tonight. But if you don't have an orange slice and you want that kind of component, that aroma to your drink, you would just use more of the orange Angostura bitters. So we're going to take regular Angostura bitters, do a couple of shakes of that guy. We're gonna take our orange bitters. If you have the Fee Brothers, that's fine. It doesn't have to be the Angostura. I just like them. Just personal preference kind of thing. That's gonna go in there. We're not gonna shake because we don't have fruit juice in this. And that is, that's a big thing is that we shake when we have fruit juice, we stir when we don't. So I'm gonna stir this guy. Again, it's gonna be about 20 seconds or so, or really until you can't feel the metal on the shaker without a little bit of discomfort. And the reason being for that, there's a whole scientific thing we could get into that would be really boring and take way too long about the cellular stuff that's going on. When we shake with fruit juice and bust the cells open to get that froth, you don't want to do that here. You're not really wanting at this point to dilute your drink too much. You're looking to chill it. So that's the deal here. If you shook it, you're going to get into some dilution. And when we have just pure spirit in our shaker, we want to stir. So there's that. Now, talked about the coupe glass a lot. Anyone that's ever been confused as what a coupe glass is, that is the coupe. Many of you may have martini glasses. That's just fine. I like the fancy coupe. You know, it makes me think of The Thin Man, right? I don't know if anybody is old enough to have seen Thin Man when they were kids too, but great movies. And, you know, Nikki and Nora had plenty of coupe glasses around the house filled with all kinds of delicious booze. So we're going to strain that into there. And as you can see, my Black Manhattan is not black at all. It's a beautiful kind of, we use the term opalescent honey color. It's really lovely, nice coppery color and all of that. And then this one, we're not going to get too crazy. We're going to take an orange and we're just going to peel off a little sliver. Try not to get any pith with it. You just want the peel itself, a little bit. You want to just give a gentle twist, kind of express some oils there. You can go around the outside if you like. This is pro level stuff, right? And then boop, just drop it in there. And then, of course, I mean, everybody's got cherries, right? We did talk about that. I didn't really put it on your shopping list because, you know, the maraschino cherries they're a commitment, honestly, you know, monetarily speaking. So we're going to just take one of these guys. I'm going to stab it here. I'm just going to do one because, you know, generally you do two, but I'm going to do two. Anyway, doesn't matter. You do you. Anyway, I've got this these nice little swizzles from Southwest Airlines. Hopefully soon we can start flying around to all kinds of fun places again. But I have a whole back stock of these, so I never have to buy like the little bamboo stickers or anything because we got plenty of these. And it's got the little heart, which is cute, isn't it? So boom, drop that in there. That's going to be that. That's the Black Manhattan. Show us your Black Manhattans if you were using the Averna and you have a true Black Manhattan. Or like mine, maybe it's this lovely copper color. But we're going to sample this now. It smells great. That orange smells good. Oh, yeah. So this is great. Y'all are all at home and having, you know, cocktail night. I got off early at 4 today, so it's 5:15 for me. So there you go. Cheers to you. Cheers. I love seeing that. That's great. So this is really nice, getting off of a long, hard day of slinging booze and having a lovely cocktail when we get home. Oh, man. Maybe we should just chug these. Do shooters. We'll do Black Manhattan shooters. Amaro Montenegro, another great one. Great choice. Definitely a Black Manhattan. But does everybody see how kind of the drier herbal component is boosted when you use the Amaro versus using a sweet red vermouth? It makes it a little bit interesting, right? All right, how about questions? Danielle, do I open the chat window here? Or do you open it? Let's see.
Yeah, you should be able to click the chat bar and then it will pop up the whole chat.
Oh, look at that. Fabulous. Yes, Laura, you do want ice in the shaker. I did put ice in the shaker. And bronze Manhattan. I like that. Yeah, mine's bronze for sure. Yum, yum. Did anybody else use a different whiskey than the Pinhook, I'm wondering? If somebody used rye or something, see how this works with the rye. Yum. Bullet? So the Bullet Rye or the bourbon? Oh man, that's good. Cool. Noah's Mill, fabulous. Made at Willett. Good stuff. All right, I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm gonna eat the cherry. Oh yeah. Good stuff, man. We're just gonna have a little cocktail hour here. Hope everybody's doing well. So don't be too jealous of me living out here, because we're supposed to get down to the 30s overnight this weekend for a few nights. I'm not real happy about that. There's not a whole lot I could do about it, but it's the way it goes. And I can hear all of the little tiny violins there in Colorado for me. But anyways, again, I hope all of you are doing fantastic. We're doing pretty good out here. I've been doing a lot of hiking. Again, we were going to go to Joshua Tree this weekend, but not if it's going to be raining and 50 degrees. So no way. We'll wait till next time. Get some stuff done around the house. All right, what do we think? What is the general consensus on the Black Manhattan? Maybe everybody's too busy drinking to type, and that's cool. I'm down with that. Yay, I really like it too. Drink Manhattans to keep you warm. You got it. Every night from here on out. All right, well, that was our introductory course. So now our appetite is stimulated, right? So it's time to kind of move on to dessert. So we have our aperitif. We also have a digestif. I'm going to remove the Amaro from the equation. We love the Amaro, but it's going to go over here now, because we have something else to do, which involves this. We'll get to this in a minute, actually. I'll be a tease, and I'll save to talk about that. But this is a pretty special little thing that I wanted to use tonight. Excuse me. So we'll get back to Pinhook for just a second. The whiskey I'm using tonight, courtesy of Lisa Gallard and Synergy. Pinhook is a company. The term refers to, I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to butcher it, but we're going to give it a shot. It refers to the method of picking a young, strong horse at like a low price. Is that right? I don't know. And then developing him to a racehorse, and then selling him later, or her, at an inflated, I don't know. Raising a horse, is that right? Is that pinhooking? You get a young pony, and then later you cash in when that pony goes and runs the Preakness or whatever the heck it is. So their idea is that they're kind of doing that with whiskeys. They're getting young whiskeys and aging them themselves, taking the care to follow along the life of the whiskey until it's ready to be bottled and released. So that's kind of a rudimentary way of talking about pinhooking. But you see on the front here, and I'm kind of washed out here because of the lights I'm using, but there's a horse on every single pinhook label. And that's a real horse, I believe, that maybe the company even owns. And every single bottle has a different horse. This one is the Bohemian. Bourbon is the name of the horse. So all of the names of their whiskeys, whether they're rye or bourbon, is the actual name of that horse. So that's about Pinhook. Now, I don't know if you guys can hear that weird banging in the background, but I have to lock my cats up in the bedroom when I do these things, and they're going crazy right now. There's a lot of screeching in there and a lot of banging on the door. I'm going to ignore it because I got whiskey. So do you. Let's go. So this is cool. So I asked you to get maple syrup for this next one. This isn't just any maple syrup. I was at the Costco, as one finds themselves at the Costco every once in a while. And I did a double take walking down on one of the aisles because I was like, what? So this is Crown Maple syrup, and it was probably Crown Maple that made me do the double take, because I'm actually one of the weirdos who really likes the Crown Royal Maple flavor that you can't get anymore. This doesn't have anything to do with Crown Royal, but what this is maple syrup aged in bourbon barrels. Woo! And it's like, what is this, like 750 ml bottle, 15 bucks at your friendly neighborhood Costco. This stuff is ridiculous. And there you go, use that guy too. But this one, I've been holding on to it for this tasting, but I think afterwards I may just start chugging this stuff or doing shots. It's that good. Stuff is delicious. So this is going to be for our autumnal old fashioned. So every time fall gets here, sitting in the backyard there in North Denver, when we used to live out there, I'd smoke a cigar and make this cocktail. Now, truth be told, full disclosure, I would use Canadian whiskey and make it a Canadian old fashioned. But doing the one whiskey thing so that all of you don't have to go purchase a whole ton of stuff, you know, I was using the bourbon in it, and it's still pretty damn good. But what this is we celebrate autumn with the maple, of course, and it's kind of a smokier, deeper old fashioned than, you know, your normal run-of-the-mill guy. Because another thing we use with this, and I don't know if Davidson still has this. I asked Rebecca to get Galligan to see if he could order more if he didn't have any, but I know that we used to sell it there. This is the black walnut bitters, and these are fantastic. If you remember when you were a kid, black walnut taffy, I don't know if anybody had that stuff. That was one of my favorites for sure at the state fair. Woo! They still have those? I don't know. For this drink, what do we want? We're going to do, generally speaking, I build an old fashioned in the cocktail glass itself. We don't need the shaker for this. I usually just fill it with ice, you know, but we want to be a little bit pretty here, right? We want the thing to be visually pleasing. So we're going to go with the big cube. So when I make a cocktail with a big ice cube, instead of, you know, just the pieces of ice, I build the cocktail without ice in the glass first and then put the cube in afterwards. I know that may seem rudimentary, but if you put the cube in and then pour your stuff over the cube, it'll get sticky on top of the cube and you're not going to get it like a properly mixed drink, if that makes any sense. Especially when you're using something like the maple syrup, which will immediately turn to like a hard syrup candy goo on top of the ice cube. So for this one, we're going to go straight to the whiskey first. Actually, no, we're not. What am I talking about? We're going to do the maple syrup first. Sorry. I'm already breaking my own rules. I'm going to smell this. Oh my God. You guys really need to go pick this up. It is amazing. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon of our maple syrup. Oh, the cats are really pissed. I don't know if you can hear them back there. All right, 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. In this case, bourbon barrel aged maple syrup. Glorious. I'm going to do that. And then we're going to do 2 ounces of our bourbon or rye or Canadian whiskey. Okay, 2 ounces go in, just like that. Now, the black walnut bitters are a little bit subtle. So, you know, I don't go crazy with them, but you're going to want to use a little bit more than you would if you were just doing regular Angostura. So I usually do like 3 instead of just 2. I'm going to do that. And then for added flavor well, we need to stir it with the ice. So we'll go back to that. So I got one of these things. I hope you guys do too, because the big block of ice is super awesome. Big fan of that. So we're just going to take our big ice. Just like that. And almost forgot. So in the glass, I don't want to use the big, spoon because it's just going to get sloppy and messy. I'll tell you what's great. You can use like a regular swizzle, but chopsticks make great swizzles. We've got a chopstick laying around. And we're just, again, going to stir. You don't have to do the full 20 seconds here. I mean, it's in the glass already. I love the old fashioned. It's such a simple drink, and it's just so delicious. Maple. Oh, man. All right. So for this, though, instead of doing like a thin sliver, you want to try to get a wider slice, right? So maybe try to flatten it out, your orange a little bit. And again, the trick here, the key to this is in getting as little pith as is possible. Oh yeah, this is a good one. All right. All right, nice wide. I've got about, like an inch and a quarter here. Woo! Look at that. Fabulous, right? So again, we're going to just kind of, you don't want to like twist it because it's going to fall apart. We just want to get some of those essential oils all there, get some of that oil on the rim, and then again, just stick it in there. Just throw it in the glass. Again, I'm gonna get some cherries. You know what the heck? I'm gonna do 2 on this round because that was so good. I want more of that. Oh, a customer, a friend, I should say, last week brought me these amazing cherries. They took the Luxardo maraschino cherries and put them in a pan and put them in their smoker. So like smoked maraschino cherries blew my mind. Amazing. So I was making some smoked old fashions with those early in the week. So here we go. Once again, we got our little Southwest Airlines swizzle. We're going to stick that right in there. I mean, that's pretty much it. Well, the big cube is in the way, but you get the idea. So there we go. That's our autumnal old fashioned with our great Pinhook bourbon and this fabulous bourbon barrel aged maple syrup from the big box store that starts with a C, and a little Luxardo cherry. We're going to sip on this one now, see how this guy is. Oh yeah. I gotta take a minute. Yeah, take a minute here. Oh, that's good. Okay. It's a better day already, isn't it? All right. So Davidson sold out of the walnut bitters. What else could you use? Well, you could use orange bitters. It's not going to be the same drink at all, but or you can just use regular Angostura like you've got. But if you're using the orange peel, the orange bitters aren't really going to do much. The key here is to get your hands on some of this black walnut bitters. Now, the thing about that is it's what I used to call the legacy bottle, because you're going to use so little of that you're going to have it forever. So when Davidson's does get it in, or if you want to, you know, if it's going to be a while and you want to just order it off the Amazon or whatever, you will have this bottle forever. As a matter of fact, I've lived here in Las Vegas for over a year now, and this is the same bottle that I had in Denver. So I only use it for this cocktail. I'm sure there's other drinks out there that you use it for, but I only use it for my autumnal old fashioned. And we'll be drinking this for another couple of weeks before moving on to imperial stouts and just straight up shots of whiskey as we try to deal with the bitter, bitter winter of Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. I hope my palm trees stay alive. All right, so what do we think here? So throughout the week. Love that maple syrup. Me too. Ooh, Kirkland Bourbon, Knob Creek. No, Kirkland Bourbon actually is, if you look on the back of it, if it's a recent bottling, it will say distilled in Tennessee. So here's the secret to that. Pretty much any, you know, sometimes you look on the back and it just says distilled in Kentucky, bottled somewhere else. You're not sure who is making it, but really anytime you see distilled in Indiana, you know it's MGP. And even though they won't say so, anytime you see distilled in Tennessee, it's George Dickel. And it's the same mash bill every time. I'm a big fan of George Dickel, so I'm a big fan of that whiskey for sure. What I was surprised about, getting back to the idea of the Canadian whiskey in this, and as long as we're talking, well, we don't want to talk too much Kirkland, although I think Davidson's can order Kirkland products because Colorado law says you can't have exclusives. So their Canadian whiskey is a 6-year that, as I understand it, I went down the rabbit hole to figure out what it was exactly. And it seems to be the base whiskey that Crown Royal uses before they add all their flavoring to it. So that's pretty good stuff. We do carry Kirkland. There you go, Rebecca says. So I'm going to show it. That's the Kirkland Canadian whiskey. Look at that jug of juice. Woo! But great price. I'm sure Davidson's has a great price too. But if you do want to make the cocktail that way, I highly recommend the Canadian Club 9-year. That's probably my overall favorite Canadian whiskey of all time. But again, we're talking about Pinhook. You could use rye in this. And yes, I agree that the Kirkland, no, excuse me, hold on. The Sam's Club stuff is Buffalo Trace. Kirkland at Costco is, if you look on the back, it says distilled in Tennessee. Let's see here. Where was I? Bach Brothers. There you go. All right. Oh, okay. So Chad says the maple seemed to almost take over. And I agree with Chad. And that's the point of this drink. is it's not subtle in the maple syrup. And that's why it makes me think of fall and autumn and all that. It is definitely showcasing the maple syrup. And that's what I love about it. It's a dessert drink. This is not like something, this is, you have this after dinner and then go out in the backyard and, you know, fire up the fire pit there, get a cigar going. If you smoke, I mean, you know, never mind. I don't want to force anybody to start smoking cigars. Send them to me. Delicious. What else do we think of that one? And does anybody have any questions about any of these tonight? I know we're running a little bit shorter than we did last week, but you know, when you're doing those tiki drinks like we were last week, so many ingredients, so much to talk about, you know. Good, Jamie, I'm glad to hear. I love them too. They are tasty, tasty business. Although I gotta be honest, lately I've been falling back into a single malt thing. A lot of single malt around the house right now. Pairs well with a Wisconsin Old Fashioned. Ooh, can we get into that discussion? Is the Wisconsin Old Fashioned really an Old Fashioned? Seeing as we know what the original Old Fashioned recipe was, right? It was 1 cube of sugar, a couple of dashes of bitter, muddled up with a little bit of club soda, and then whiskey added to it. So the Wisconsin Old Fashioned, what is it? Somebody help me out here. It's Sprite or 7-Up, grenadine, brandy, simple syrup, and a side of insulin, right? Just messing around. I don't want to make anybody mad from Wisconsin, but yeah. I do love the Corbel brandy, for sure. What else can be made with Amaro? I'm glad you asked. This is going to be a little bit of a pro move here. But if you've got the ingredients in your arsenal, I suggest you go online and you search for a cocktail called Beati Fumo, or Fumi, beautiful smoke. What is in that is Amaro, 1.5 ounces, I believe, a 1/2 ounce of Islay heavily peated Scotch. I mean, we're talking Ardbeg, we're talking Lafroig, we're talking Lagavulin. Okay, I use the Ardbeg Wee Beastie. I don't know if anybody's gotten that one yet, but it's like my favorite new Scotch, and I just had put it in everything. But the Beati Fumo also has lemon, fresh lemon juice, and then also honey syrup with it. It tastes like a very, very grown-up smoky Coca-Cola, and it is fabulous. Another really good Amaro drink that I've had lately is the Drunk Uncle, which again has Amaro, smoky Scotch, and sweet vermouth. It's kind of a take on the Negroni. That's pretty tasty. And then you can use Amaro in many different ways. You can use it in the original way, and we should talk about what Amaro is, right? So Amaro is an Italian liqueur that has sugar at a base. It can be a heavy wine. It can be a grain-neutral spirit, and then herbs and barks and all kinds of things put to it. The beauty of this is that a lot of this stuff settles your stomach. So Amaro's originally created and still used in Italy and in my house for, it's Thanksgiving, okay, and we're coming up on Thanksgiving soon, and you've really stuffed yourself silly, your stomach hurts, you're like, oh my God, I need relief. A shot of Amaro, honest to God, will fix you right up. I'm no medical doctor, let me say that, but a really nice Amaro to sip on it, it settles the stomach, it makes everything, it just makes you feel better. You know, that's what's the word we're looking for? Not coincidental, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, this class of liqueurs, that's what it's for originally, is to settle your stomach. And you have a great local option as well, the Leopold Brothers Fernet, with 3 different kinds of spearmint in it. That stuff. I mean, if you got a really bad stomachache for whatever reason, if you do like that, or any of your Amaros with club soda and a bunch of shakes of Angostura bitters, maybe with ginger ale, that'll fix anything that's wrong with you. Anything. Maybe even COVID, who knows? So there you go. Let's see. Favorite after dinner? Yes, it is, for sure. My favorite cocktails to come home to, it's the old fashioned. That's number 1. I am an old fashioned junkie, and my recipe is pretty simple. Whatever bourbon I feel like at the time. My favorite to use in it is the Henry McKenna 10-year. I do 2 ounces of whiskey to 1 teaspoon simple syrup, 2 shakes of Angostura regular, 1 shake of Angostura orange, done. And that is it. And to kind of flesh that out, if I want to make that a pool drink, I'll just top it off with like a blackberry club soda or something like that. But yeah, that's my favorite. Second favorite cocktail would be, it's a toss-up. I love the Paloma. And as I was talking about last week, I'll do like squeeze half a grapefruit into a cup with 2 ounces of tequila and top it off with the grapefruit club soda. That's really great. But you know, if I really, really am looking to, you know, excite my taste buds and get super happy, it's the Mezcal Negroni. So if anybody's familiar with the Negroni, it's gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari in equal amounts. If you switch out the gin from Mezcal, it is just, I mean, it's just wow. Actually, now talking about it, that's probably what I'm going to have when we're done here, honestly. Let's see here. Amaro is infinite, bro. Hell yeah, it is. Let's see. Sub it in for Aperol and Amaro Spritz. Yes, lovely. What is my favorite bourbon for what, the old fashioned? It's definitely the McKenna 10-year bottled in bond single barrel. I think it's got a really beautiful rye pop that expresses itself in that cocktail without having to be a rye. Please repeat your old fashioned recipe. 2 ounces of whiskey. The whiskey is up to your preference. 1 teaspoon of simple syrup. And I just use standard white cane sugar simple syrup where it's half fat, half water. Because when that drink was made, they were using white sugar cubes. So I do get fancy with my simple syrup on tiki cocktails, but not with that one. So a teaspoon of simple syrup, 2 shakes of regular Angostura, 1 shake of Angostura orange, put over ice, sit down and let the world go away. Hot cocktails. Well, Jamie, you know, I don't do a whole bunch of them, but we did have to come up with some for a few of those, a couple of those events that we did for sure. So, you know, hot toddy, basic hot toddy, which really is kind of an old fashioned anyway, but I do like to make it with tea, you know, use like Earl Grey tea for that. So there you go. I do have a hot cocktail. Pour hot Earl Grey tea into a cup, put a couple of ounces of whiskey with it, tablespoon, let's go tablespoon of honey. Oh yeah. And then a twist of lemon. And there you go. There's a hot cocktail. And anything with chocolate in it, right? I think that's what old fashioned is Demerara. I do love the Demerara syrup. I really do. But, and I used to use that in my old fashions all the time. But then one night, I don't know, I got this weird thing. I was on a kick about being, you know, purely traditional. I went back to using purely traditional stuff with my tiki cocktails and all that. I decided, well, all right, from here on out, I'm gonna do my old fashions with white sugar because that's what they started using, blah, 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 whatever. But now I just find that I like it better. As much as I love the Demerara syrup, I think it fights with the bourbon a little. Whereas the white cane syrup just kind of plays nice along, gives you a little bit of sweetness. But again, no, there's no wrong answers with any of this stuff. It's what you like. And yeah, those Demerara sugar cubes are super cool. Should probably get some of those in the house. Why not? What whiskeys do y'all like in your old fashions? Since we're talking about a lot about the old fashioned, and why wouldn't we? Oh, slowing down.
Sorry.
Well, I don't want to keep it too quiet here. Let's see, Wondrix 80, there you go. Regular sugar cube and rye with lemon instead of orange, sure. Yeah. I mean, again, no wrong answers, right? It's what we all like. Tonight I like this. Tomorrow night maybe I'll be over, you know, the maple syrup, but I doubt it. Either that or, like I said, we'll just do like Super Troopers, chug the whole bottle. Oh, that 291 rye. I miss 291 a whole bunch. They're not available out here. There's a lot of those great Colorado spirits that we don't have here. I would love to see 291 here. I would love to see Bear Creek. Jay, I don't know if Jay's out there, probably not, but I hassle him all the time about coming into other states. But really, Nevada is a small market. It's, you know, it's tough. We have Peach Street out here. We have Leopold Brothers. I've got Woody Creek, and Stranahan's. And I think that's about it on the Colorado side. You guys really don't know how spoiled you are there on the Front Range with all the amazing distilleries. I mean, you've got great breweries as well, but obviously, it's the Napa Valley of beer. But the distillery scene in Colorado, I think, dwarfs any other state in the country because not only do you have a bunch of them, but they're all cranking out amazing spirits. You know, there's not really any junk there, whereas a lot of other places, there's a lot of junk out there. We've been doing a lot of work with Old Elk lately, which I know what's in the Old Elk bottles isn't really, you know, their own distillate yet. I know they're still getting there, but since they've got Greg Metz working for them, it is their distillate because he made that in Indiana. So I think it's a real kick that he made that in Indiana and now he's blending his own whiskey, but he's doing it in Fort Collins, Colorado. That just, I mean, that tickles me to no end. I think it's great. We have 3 different single barrels of Old Elk coming into Liquor World here in the Vegas area. We've got the straight bourbon, the wheated bourbon, and the wheat whiskey, and they're all fantastic, and I can't wait. Oh, you have to thank me for name checking Bear Creek. I will thank them all the time. Is that Katie G? Is that the Katie that's on here? That's awesome. Woo! Hi, Katie. Good to see you. See you again soon, I hope. Katie came out here and saw us in Vegas, and we took her out and had some, we went to the Tim Burton thing at the Neon Museum, and we went all up and down the strip. She got proposed to by Goofy. That was pretty fun. And we went out to the Valley of Fire, which is, if you think of Garden of the Gods and put it on steroids, that's like an hour that way, and it's super cool. So definitely miss Katie, definitely miss Jay at Bear Creek, definitely miss all of you folks, everybody. Thoughts on Smoke Wagon? Well, here's the thing. Any of you who have ever talked to myself and Mr. Dave King in the whiskey aisle there at Davidson's know what we feel about most MGP whiskeys. Now, back in the day, if you were exposed to be using MGP whiskey from Indiana, oh, the shot, you know, Templeton, you know, it was like, oh, that's fake whiskey. Nowadays, though, because everybody knows of the quality that comes out of that distillery in Indiana, it's not a bad thing at all. Actually, a lot of people prefer it. And my only issue is that when somebody buys MGP, doesn't really do anything except puts it in a bottle and comes up with some cockamamie story about, you know, granddaddy was a bootlegger and prohibition and blah, blah, blah. It's like, don't do that stuff. So what I love about Smoke Wagon is Aaron, the main guy there, the owner and master blender, Aaron buys barrels of young whiskey from MGP, and he has a huge warehouse that he ages it himself, and he keeps tabs on everything day by day, makes his own batches, and Aaron has an amazing knack for creating some of the best blends that I've tasted. So even though, yes, Smoke Wagon is an MGP product, and they're not going to change that anytime soon, that whiskey doesn't taste like that whiskey if Aaron himself isn't making it. So I'm a big fan of Smoke Wagon, and that's how I feel about them. Heck yeah, Applejack and Black Walnut bitters, that'll work real well. I gotta get some more Applejack around here. Bacon bourbon, Old Major, well, I mean, yeah, bacon old fashioned with this maple syrup, I think that'd be pretty killer. You know, or if you could find any other way to get smoke in it, because I think that bacon bourbon it's more smoky though, isn't it? I remember there was I can't remember the name of it, but we once got a bacon bourbon in, or bacon vodka in at Davidson's, and the rep brought it around for us to try, and we all sat there just looking at each other like, this is a bottle of ham. Why would you want a bottle of smoked ham? So I don't think we wound up bringing that particular product in, and I couldn't even expose who that was in the first place because I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, I remember the bacon bourbon. It's got actual, like, real bacon flavor. I mean, it doesn't taste like a ham. It's more like a smoky bacon, right? And I think that would go in a nice maple syrup old fashioned, for sure. Good deal. All right, what else we got here? How we doing? Anybody coming to Vegas anytime soon? Is anybody brave enough to get on a plane? I'm not. I'm not messing with anybody, and I'm not going anywhere near an airport for a while, but the Strip is definitely open. The Strip is insane. They had some real problems with the Strip. When the Strip reopened, most of the people who were coming from nearby states that were still completely pretty much shut down. California, number one. And we were not getting, put it this way, people were coming to party and party hard. So the Strip became really dangerous. There were some shootings, there was some stuff like that. They've cleaned that up now, because one thing that everybody should know about Vegas is it's run by money. There's a lot of money here, and they're not going to have that nonsense. So, you know, that's cleaned up. I would say if you're not too freaked out about the COVID thing, you know, they're doing limited capacity at the bars, but Vegas is open for business. That being said, I haven't been out since shut down. I haven't even gone to a restaurant. I mean, we're in a different situation. Like I said, I got this whole cabinet over here in the corner of every spirit you could ever desire. I can make any cocktail in this house you want. We have a nice big house with a bar here that you can't see because the camera setup is on it. We've had a pool during the whole, you know, pandemic and all that. So we haven't really had a need to go anywhere. But if anybody's really, you know, itching to get out, I can tell you that, you know, these hotels out here, they're not messing around. I mean, they don't want the liability of somebody getting sick. So they're, you know, they're really sanitizing everything and doing the social distancing, checking temperatures as you come in the door. So you've got a spirit and you believe you've got a good immune system, and maybe you've already had this and you think you've got the tells or the antibodies. Hey, come on out and party. I'm not saying I'm going to meet you at the bar, though. That's not happening. But I work at Liquor World, Las Vegas, the one particularly at Rainbow and Sunset. There's 7 locations around here that I kind of do all the spirit specials for all those and train folks. And we're going to be moving forward and getting bigger and bigger and bigger with that. As I was saying last week, I thought I was going to get out of this business, and that didn't quite happen. As soon as you leave, they pull you back in. Let's see here. I will sell you on my home bar. We can go in the backyard and smoke cigars and socially distance out there. And I'll make pictures of Mai Tais. How's that? There you go. The Dark Amaro I mentioned, Verna Amaro will be dark enough. Somebody else mentioned the Montenegro. That will certainly be dark enough. Absolutely. What else? Downtown is open. Everything's open. And people are crazy. It is crazy here right now. But that's the way it goes. I've been going out in the desert. I'm going the other direction. So what do you think there, Danielle? What else?
If we have no more questions or comments, then I say we can go ahead and wrap it up. And I appreciate you guys all being here tonight and enjoying this. And thank you, Chris, for being with us. It's been a great 2 weeks having you here. Hopefully we can get you back or something else. As long as we're staying virtual, we'd love to have you. So thank you all. And also in 2 weeks, we'll be doing our next happy hour tasting, and that will be with Dave Bauer at Davidson's, and he's gonna be doing wines for the holiday season. So make sure you check that out, get some good wines for Thanksgiving, upcoming holidays, and we hope to see you guys at that one. But thank you again, and thank you to Davidson's, and everyone have a great night.
Cheers.